Before you ever knew me, I wasn't scared much. I wasn't a fearful man.
Coming off of 2017 and the Oscars and all that, I felt like reading those scripts and how fascinated I was with Wayne, and knew that like just within my heart, mind, and spirit was really attracted to that character, and felt like I heard something in him, and could see something there. And I called my manager and my agent. I was like, "Hey, I want. Can you check and see if he would be interested in hearing me out for this other part?" So I sent over my pitch and my pictures of my grandfather as a state police officer and in the '60s, and really just shared with him. We got to meet again. I really just got to share with him how I felt sincerely, whether it was me or another actor of color or whatever. But I felt like the story, considering the eras, 1980, 90, and then 2015, I really felt that there's a subtle way to add more texture to the piece as well, so it isn't just a straight up and down missing persons case or solve the who done it. I was attracted to it because I felt like I could play that character, as is. And I always relate to material that way. No, he wasn't quote unquote written black. I mean, there are certain things that you obviously, especially in that era and time, have to take into consideration if you cast myself in that role, or whoever, Sterling Brown or somebody. And so once he did that, there were some shifts, that some things that were sort of transposed or transferred from the Roland character, who was initially black, to Wayne. And so that sort of flipped, so it's not like those things weren't necessarily there. It's just as soon as you broaden or expand the screen time and the world of the black character, that means you have to expand his experiences in the world as well. Like, and so that means the racial element, or the potential of there being moments of race, in at least discussions of it anyway, have to have a little bit more space to breathe as well. And so, but Nick handled it, so he did it with such subtlety that feels to me more how at least I've experienced race. The subtlety of it is I feel really relevant for this time, because you almost have to stop and question, is that because he's black, or did it just happen that way? And that's how it happens all the time, where two people had the same experience in front of each other. And I've been in that situation where, as the black guy, you're like, oh man, I can't believe that just happened. And the other person's like, what do you mean? What happened? And so that's the way in which Nick sort of approaches it a bit in the show. There's things about Wayne that really remind me of my grandfather. And I think that I was naturally like pulling things from him. So he's somebody who joined the military when he was like 15 or 16 years old. That was his third attempt trying to join. He started trying to join as early as like 13, because he was always like, he was a tall kid and was trying to get out of his environment, get out of his house in Kentucky. And so he was able to finally join the Navy at I think 15 or 16. He was a state police officer in I think the 60s and 70s. And he was always sort of, Pop scared me because he was always a little bit grumpy. And sort of like real, he was not a guy who was ever gonna say I loved you, but he took care of his family. You knew he loved you, but it wasn't, he was kind of a no nonsense guy. And I feel like there were so many elements in him that Nick naturally put on the page. I think there's just something in our culture, because one, we don't want to experience, but we don't mind watching the darkness, things that are traumatic are inherently dramatic. And so I think people sort of enjoy being a fly on the wall of that process, and being sort of taken into the dungeon and walk through Hades and come out on the other side. I think that because none of us ever want to be in that situation per se, but we don't mind watching it play out, especially if we feel like we're in good hands and feel like we're relatively safe, like moving through that process. So anybody who can do that really well and take us on that journey, it always feels really, really satisfying, like by the end of it.